Every financial decision begins as a belief before it becomes a behavior. I'm going to say that again in case you need to pick up a pen. Every financial decision becomes first a belief before it becomes a behavior. So the first freedom I'd encourage you, I invite you to focus on is the freedom of faith. Now we have a problem here because the moment I say the freedom of faith, most people will think instinctively, oh, he's talking about religion. Well, let me tell you the reality. I'm not talking about religion as much as I'm talking about a decision. If you haven't realized that every financial decision in your life first started as a belief before it became a behavior, then you haven't understood that the freedom of your faith is determining your finances. Before you can start to make your finances hold any level of weight, you first have to reconstruct your behaviors, and your behaviors are going to be predicated by ultimately your beliefs. And this is why you have to start with a freedom of faith. If you're not developing your freedom in the area of faith, you are literally handicapping yourself to produce high levels of finance. Faith is conviction. It's not religion. Faith is what you believe undoubtedly. What you have convinced and committed yourself to say, if it's gonna be, it's up to me, this is going to be my way. Now, yes, for most people and many people around the world, it is presented in the form of religion. Because religion is one of those things that get people so excited or so riled up or so convicted that they're willing to talk about it. They're willing to be about it. But here's a question. What beliefs are you harboring that are turning into your behaviors? And ultimately, once you ask yourself that question, additionally, ask the next question, which is the friend to that question. What impact is that having on your finances? You see, most people haven't realized. Let me share this with you. According to a Bible verse found in 3 John, okay, it's literally between verse 1 and 2. 3 John verse 1 and 2. Now, someone might say, Samuel, what chapter is it in, right? If you go to 3 John, you'll see there's only one chapter. So there's no chapters in 3 John, right? In 3 John verse 1 and 2, it says something so powerful. It says, to the beloved Gaius, okay? John was writing to Gaius. He says, to my beloved Gaius. He says something so profound. He says, I wish above all, this means this is the most important wish I have for you. John says to the beloved Gaius, I wish above all that you prosper and be in health. So he's talking about wealth and he's talking about health. But listen to what he says. He says, even as your soul prospers. You see, I define the soul as our thinker, our feeler, and our chooser. Now think about it for a moment. John says to Gaius, my beloved Gaius. What does beloved mean? It means I like you. So if I like you, I'm going to give information that's going to help you become who you truly are supposed to be. I'm going to give you information that's going to assist you to become closer to who you desire to be. He says to my beloved Gaius, he was telling us, I like you. And then he says to the beloved Gaius, he says, I wish above all things, my biggest wish for you is that you prosper, you win, and be in health, even as, equal to, if you're a mathematician like me, even as means equal to, equitable to, even as your soul prospers. So what was John saying to Gaius? John was saying to Gaius, there's a mathematical equation at work. Your health and your wealth are going to equate to how you see yourself. Every financial decision begins as a belief before it becomes a behavior. And sometimes when we've got erroneous behavior, we don't take a step back and look at the same erroneous, erratic beliefs. You cannot have receipts when you've got faulty beliefs. Your wealth is something that is a byproduct of your soul. As you're thinking, as you're feeling, as you're choosing, as your decisions, as your matrix of decisions, as your matrix of beliefs, as your matrix of faith is positioned appropriately, wealth literally will run at you. And this is why John was saying to Gaius, I believe for you that above all, your soul will prosper, because if your soul prospers, I know the rest of your situation is going to prosper. Let me share a quick secret with you. Do you know that broken beliefs always stop multiplication? Now, you might not believe me on this one, so I'm going to give you a little bit of homework. Go and read Matthew chapter 25 and see the story, the parable Jesus told to help you thrive. In Matthew chapter 25, Jesus tells this story about a master who gives 3 of his servants talents. Now, I'm going to super paraphrase so I can get through this. But basically, there is one of the servants who takes the talent he received, and because of the thing he believed, he hides it instead of turning it into something more for him to receive. Broken beliefs always stop multiplication. The first servant takes his 5, turns his 5 to another 5. He's got 10. The second servant takes his 2, turns his 2 to another 2. He's got 4. And the third servant takes his 1, hides it, and ends up without even that 1. Because when the master comes back, he says, take the 1 from that evil 1 and give it to the 1 who has 10. And we say today the rich get richer and the poor get poorer, but we don't know where that comes from. That comes from Matthew 25, when Jesus said in this parable, to he who has much more shall be given, but to he who does not have, even the little he has shall be taken away from him. I want to tell you a quick story so you understand what I'm talking about today. At the age of 18, I celebrated my 18th birthday in a prison cell. The reason I celebrated my 18th birthday in a prison cell is because from the age of 13, I was doing the wrong thing. And the authorities did not like me doing the wrong thing, and neither should they have. So you know what they did? They sent me to prison at the age of 17. And guess what? After a few months, I was released for good behavior. But guess what I did? After being released, I went back to doing more of the wrong thing. So you know what they did? Still whilst I was 17, they caught me, apprehended me, and put me back into prison again. Even to the degree that I celebrated my 18th birthday in prison that second time. Now, when I was released the second time, I had the intention, I had the beliefs, the same beliefs to go back and do the same thing. And a member of my family, a friend till this day, said to me, Samuel, go back to college. And I was like, college? Why am I going to college? I don't need to go to college. They said, Samuel, go back to college. They said, you're intelligent, man. Go to college. Let me tell you what happened. In 2004, I decided to go back to college and my life changed forevermore. I tell people my personal testimony, that year God kidnapped me. Everything changed. I stopped committing crime. I stopped living for my own time. I started focusing on other people. You see, the reason my whole life changed that year, I know at the core of it, is because God kidnapped me. It's because God decided to take me that year and say, listen, let's go into business together. But let me tell you what happened on the psychological level. I changed my belief. I changed my belief about value. I changed my belief about people. I changed my belief about what I wanted to do and how I thought I could get through. I changed my belief. And as a result of changing my belief, I changed my behaviors. Now, the reason this is empowering for you, because you might not have celebrated your 18th birthday in prison, but you need to understand that real freedom begins in your mind. I was the same person in my mind both of those times that the police were able to find. Now, I'm not saying if I changed my mind, I would have been more evasive and elusive. No, that's not the point. The point I'm making, which hopefully is getting through to you, is that when I changed my mind and I realized crime doesn't pay, this was something the elders used to say. But today, oh, let's just leave the dot, 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 the ellipsis there. I grew up in a time where the elders would say crime doesn't pay. And I didn't realize for myself until I received real freedom. And where did it begin? It began in my mind. In me realizing I needed to shift, I needed to change. So let me show you how this works, because this can work for you if you allow this also to come through. Let me show you how it works. It starts with belief. And this is why your freedom of faith is so important. If you are someone who just believes what you believe because someone else forced it down your throat, reassess your beliefs. If you're someone who just does what everyone does because you believe they said their name is cuz, reassess your beliefs, because it all begins with belief. But here's what happens. Belief actually becomes something else. Belief has a weird way of becoming your thoughts. You see, people start to have cantankerous consciousness based on their beliefs. And people also have prosperous consciousness based on their beliefs. If you're finding that you have a toxic mindset, and I know some people won't come that direct and live and just say a statement like that, but if it's okay, I'm going to help you anyway. Because there's times I've seen in the past, I've got in my own way. I've seen when I've self-sabotaged because I had toxic beliefs. So if we can be transparent with one another, I'm going to speak to you like my sister or like my brother. So if you have a belief that you realize is toxic, guess what? It's going to produce toxic thoughts. And those toxic thoughts end up showing up in another way. They show up in the form of toxic choices. Now, it's not when they're thoughts that most people catch them. It's not when they're beliefs that most people catch them. For most people, they don't catch the toxicity until the toxicity shows up for you and me. It's when the toxicity becomes so obvious that we start saying, hold on a minute, this guy's toxic. Hold on a minute, this girl's toxic. Hold on a minute, they're toxic. Sometimes we recognize about the people closest to us that they're toxic. Why? Because we didn't recognize the belief. We didn't recognize their thought, but we saw the choice. We saw the crazy choices they made. And we realize someone's been getting played. But when we see that toxicity go from beliefs, go through thoughts, come out in choices, let me tell you what it then later becomes. It then becomes a person's habits. This is when a person is perpetually performing in a certain set of predicaments. This is when a person is perpetually, consistently performing in a certain set of predicaments. And ultimately, those habits end up producing that person's life. So here's the cheat code. If you are displeased with any element of your life, here's what you do about it. You don't attempt to directly change the life. You can just start by changing the beliefs. And the beliefs will filter through to the thoughts, and the thoughts will filter through to the choices, and the choices will filter through to the habits, and the habits will ultimately impact and affect your life. I want you to do a journal task with me right now. Take out your journal and write in your journal this simple statement. What belief have I accepted that no longer serves me or the future that I'm building? What belief that I have accepted no longer serves me nor the future that I'm building? I want you to write that statement down in your journal, and I want you to truly engage with that statement so that as you engage, your life can turn a new page. And if this is resonating with you, I want you to write in the comments the word believe, so that by the grace of God, you will finally, ultimately start to receive.
Small keys open big doors.